Hello everyone, welcome to the next session on ABAP on HANA training. In the last class, we have talked about performance improvements in our existing applications and finding the bottlenecks where the performance improvements is required when you migrate to ABAP on HANA. We had also discussed about syntax and purpose of Open SQL. We have discussed how Open SQL or NetWeaver server has been evolved over a period of time, the evolution of SAP NetWeaver system, and then we were talking about a use case which we will be building during this course with different techniques of code push down, wherein there is an account receivable accountant, Mr. James, who would need an information of unpaid invoices from the customers, which crosses the certain days and also some amount. So day average number of days since the invoice is unpaid will be one limit, and another limit will be the amount. If it exceeds that, he would like to see those customer names who exceeded this particular limit. And Mr. Robert, as an ABAP on HANA developer, would be responsible to give this as an output, or build this report on ABAP on HANA. So that's the whole idea or the whole picture. We have also written the specification in detail. How would we implement this end-to-end used case using OpenSQL? So now I will first move on to the new OpenSQL syntax and the features which have been done in OpenSQL. So if you remember again the building shape diagram, some of the parts in this diagram we have already seen, that transparent optimizations. We've also talked about improved trace and tools. And now I think we are moving towards this section called extensions to OpenSQL. So you see here the first pillar, this we have already completed. So if I just highlight what parts we have already done, is this much. We've also looked at the guidelines provided by SAP in terms of having or gain performances. So now you can actually see in the progress of the course how many things are still pending. So we will move on to the next pillar, which is in the middle now, which is extension to OpenSQL. So let's go ahead and understand what has been improved in SAP NetWeaver 7.5 SP2 or 7.4 SP2 onwards, so that you can make use of the new features or new ABAP features in SAP NetWeaver 7.4. So let's get started with that. So enhancement in ABAP and Open SQL from SAP NetWeaver 7.4. So my idea is to showcase features of latest ABAP language with 7.4, its enhancements and the different syntaxes which you might not have seen in the past, compare them and write small report programs to showcase these features, and then come back to this POC and write down this whole program to showcase you the final result by making use of new syntax and new techniques, and also do some improvement in the SQL syntax with the new approaches. So let's get started. What has been improved in OpenSQL? So as we all know, the main purpose of OpenSQL is to provide a database abstraction. SAP can connect to any database, be an Oracle, DB2, DB6, or HANA database for that matter. And OpenSQL provides a complete database abstraction, providing you single syntax through which you can write database independent code. And your DB abstraction layer automatically converts that OpenSQL statement to the native SQL statement. This is also the common semantics. OpenSQL is the common semantics for all the database queries which you write down. It is also provides you an SQL-like syntax. For example, insert, update, select queries. So that is SQL-like syntax what it provides you. So what has been improved in OpenSQL? So OpenSQL enhancements. Let's talk about that. The first enhancement is which has happened in OpenSQL is escaping of host variables and comma separated select list. What do we mean by that? If you worked with Open SQL in the past, anytime we used to write a query, we used to write select our columns, let's say star, from database table into table I tab, or into work area where somewhere condition, and then end select. This is what has been the syntax by far in the world. Now, for example, in here, instead of star, if I have to specify the columns, I used to give column 1 space column 2 space column 3. So there was never ever a possibility to put comma separated column list. But now it's possible with Open SQL syntax to provide a comma which takes it closer to SQL 92 standard. What is SQL 92? This is actually the common SQL language which was introduced in year 1992 by and agreed by all database vendors. Since SAP is also moving towards database layer because they have this HANA DB as a database, they also have to comply to SQL 92 standards. But from ABAP side, it's important that ABAP also slowly complies to this SQL 92 standard on the application server side. So a open SQL 92 standard says the comma separated column list can be provided by user while selecting the columns from table. That's why with SAP NetWeaver 7.2 SP2 onwards, SAP allows you to write open SQL statement wherein you can put all the columns separated by comma. When you do this, you also have to specify your work area or internal table what you're using to collect the data with a escape variable called @of. So when I will teach you SQL script in upcoming chapters, I will show you in SQL script. When you write SQL script, you also write statements there to provide your data variable which will hold the data coming from database. So that time you will understand there is a symbol in SQL script called colon which is used to indicate a variable. So in SQL script, whenever you're writing a variable in SQL query, you always prefix it with a colon symbol. That is called escaping of host variable. Host variable means this is the variable in which the data will come and sit. It is welcoming the data. That's why it's called host variable. So in order to bring it closer to the syntax of SQL 92 and SQL script, SAP have made these changes to allow you to provide comma separated column list and escaping of host variable with @of as the escaping variable. Okay, so that's one thing or one change which you would see in OpenSQL syntax. Let's quickly go back to the system and write a simple report program to actually observe all these enhancements. So I will write a new program called y demo open SQL enhancements. Click on create. Executable program. So what I will do is I will every query which we are writing, I will also run that query in HANA DB so that you will learn both HANA DB query and OpenSQL syntax, both you will learn together. So let me go to HANA modeler in my clips, select my HANA database connection and open the SQL editor. So now I just want to show you very simple example of selecting business partner data from business partner table. So I say select BP underscore ID, comma, I don't know the columns which are there in the table. So maybe I will quickly go to content, go to schema and look at the columns which this database table BPA has, SNWD underscore BPA has. Or maybe I can just simply do right now star from SAP A4H is the schema name, SNWD underscore BPA is the table. Execute this query, F8, and you would see the data. So now you see there are multiple columns in the system. So I want BPID, company name, and web address, these three columns to be selected from this table. Currency code also, let's say. So I want 4 columns: BP underscore ID, company underscore name, and then currency underscore code. Let's say these 3 columns from this table. I execute this, and now you would see it only selects 3 columns from this database table. Amazing. Now you see in the database, this is a database query. I'm writing directly on HANA database, and HANA is a database which also has to comply to SQL 92 standard. But if you write same query in ABAP in before NetWeaver 7.4, the comma is never allowed. So if you are having a 7.2 system or 7.3 system, if you write a query like this, your ABAP system will give you syntax error in Open SQL. But with 7.4, SAP also allowed you to provide comma separated columns in your database tables or in your SQL statements writing in the ABAP program. So let me show you the same query writing over here. Select BP underscore ID, and then I would say company name, and then I would say currency code from SNWD underscore PD. I don't have to specify the schema name because my ABAP system always goes and connect to one schema in database. I have to also specify in which variable I am getting the data. So I say into work area and select, and I will now print the data from the work area in this select loop. Work area hyphen company code, work area hyphen currency code. So I've got this select query written over here. I got to also declare this work area. So I will first declare a type begin of TY business partner data, and then I can say BP underscore ID type SNWD underscore BPA table hyphen BP underscore ID, control D to copy the same line into the next line, end of type BP underscore data. I did a mistake. I used a PD table. There is no PD. There is a PD table for product. It's BPA table in which I have this business partner data. And now I will declare my data variable work area type TYBP data. Save this. Do a quick check. BP ID already exists. Okay, here it should be company name, of course, and then this should be the currency code. As you all know, ABAP is not case sensitive. So you see here I am writing currency underscore C capital, doesn't matter. Just like JavaScript is case sensitive, what we learned in Fury. Okay, so now you see select this from this table into work area, and you can see since I am using comma here, system is saying that I have to use the escape host variable symbol. So at the rate of is must when you use a comma separated select list. If you don't want to use this at the rate of, you can still go to the old syntax which is without comma. So this will also work. This is the old syntax without comma, but if you put with comma, you have to put your escape variable. You can see the data is coming. If I go back and now put a comma separated list, I have to use my escape variable over here with at the rate of. This is must. So this indicates that the data set is going to come and sit inside this variable which is work area. So you have to have escaping of host variable must with the new syntax. Activate, and you see same result. But this won't cause any performance change. It's just a different syntax with NetWeaver 7.4. If you feel that would it cause a performance impact, no, it is just done to keep or to make SQL syntax closer to SQL 92. Okay, so if you see this kind of syntax, don't panic. It's just escaping of host variables. Another interesting stuff which SAP have done is dynamic data creation, or what do you call it as inline data declaration, which we have seen also in past chapter. So you don't have to declare a type, neither a work area like this. You can avoid doing this, both of these. You can completely avoid doing both of them and declare your data variables on fly. Dynamic data declaration or inline data declaration basically. So here instead of into work area, you can directly say data, and like this you can write, this is called inline data declaration in ABAP. Of course you have to put your escape variable, do a syntax check, everything looks okay, and activate it. So what happens in this case, SAP would automatically do the data declaration at run at inline. The moment this statement encounters, the data declaration will be done automatically. Okay, so I don't have to explicitly declare my work area and types. I don't also have to worry about types. This is called inline data declaration in ABAP. With SAP NetWeaver 7.4, this has been possible. I execute this and you can see still it produce the same result. You can also change the syntax a little bit to do a dynamic internal table or internal table declaration. So I can say into table data, and I can now maybe just for naming convention sake I make it itab. I don't need a select and select now because it's not a loop statement. So this will now create an internal table inline, pull all the data and push it in the internal table. And now I can loop at the internal table itab into again a inline data declaration with work area, and then I can print the result from this internal table. So you can see I have not declared internal table, neither the work area on the top, which we typically use to do in the ABAP programs. It's not required. I can just do inline data declaration like this, and I can run this. It would show you the same result. You can also declare the field symbols inline. So I can just type here field symbol, and then you can write a field symbol name. So hope all of you ABAPers knows about field symbol, what field symbol is. And now save this. So this is like yet again another feature. I think it's assigning, not into. Whenever you use field symbol, you always use assigning, you don't use into. And then we can just activate and run this. You can see the same result. So this is how in ABAP we have new syntax in Open SQL, where you can give comma separated list and inline data declaration as well as field symbol declaration. Clear? So let me just quickly note down that we also have new features. So first feature is inline data declaration and field symbol declaration. Field symbol declaration. Okay. So let's move on. That's one new feature which you have seen just now. What are all the other new features which SAP have brought up with SAP NetWeaver 7.4? So there are already some features which are there, but some features can also enhance it. Those features have been enhanced. We will talk about those features. So now you also have features like arithmetic and aggregate functions which are available. So you can now use arithmetic and logical expressions inside the queries. So let's look at some example of arithmetic and logical expressions inside the queries. So it's a very common requirement sometimes for you to go ahead and check if the table has at least one record. Okay. So this is something which we all do as an ABAPer once in our lifetime at least. We all have done. Check if a database table has at least one record matching criteria. right? So what some people does, they do select, okay, they do select star from, let's say, snwd underscore bpa table, and then they do end select, and then they check if there is at least one record. So they can say lv exist equals to abap true. They just mark it as abap true, and then after this they check if lv exist equals to abap true, then they just do a write statement, record at least one table has something, else write oops table don't have record, right? This is a very very bad programming, guys. This is one of the worst programming example which you, if you have done ever in your life like this, you have spoiled it actually. You have spoiled it. This is one of the worst example of checking if table has something. Why? Because you are looping or over all the data records of the table. Here select and select is a loop. It will pull all the data and of course all the columns as well from the database layer to the application layer. Now some people will say, okay Anubhav, we will not pull all columns, we will just check for bpid column and then see if data exists. Then we will say, okay fine, data exists. That is also bad because you are still firing database query, looping over each record of the database table and pulling it in the application layer just to do an existence check. This is a very bad programming. Yeah. So what do we do? How do we solve this problem? Of course, into work area you got to give, and let me use new inline data declaration. So this is how typically you will do, and this is going to be very costly for you because you are pulling all the data records from the database table in the application layer, or in from the database layer to the application layer. This is one of the worst example for pulling the records. Okay, so what do we do then? Some people started using even a different syntax. So let me run this, and you see at least one record has it, table has something. And now some people started using a different syntax for this. Instead of this, they now use something called lv count. So they say select count star or count bpid from, and there has to be of course a space between operator and operand. That's what the general syntax is, from snwd bpa, and this count I will store it into a variable lv count, or just to count star from this table. And then what you do is you see if lv count is greater than 0, then you are doing also making marking it as, yeah, it's an abap true. Yeah, so this is also some people will do, checking the count into the table and getting it into a variable. Yeah, of course I got to declare this count variable. So this is what we have done, all we have done some majority of the time to check if it has at least one record or something exists in the table. So this will also give it to you the result is something is there, that's fine. But again, you are doing, this is also bad programming because you are asking table to again loop through all the records, all the columns, and give me a count which is not needed. And then improving this also further on, some people can then also do started doing select single star or select single star from table into a work area from this table. And if there is something size sub rc is 0, then there is something exists. So this is actually better because you are then pulling only one record from the database table and bringing it in the front end, and then with that you are at least checking something is there or not. But this is also bad. Why? Because it has to reconstruct that one record which you are pulling. System has to reconstruct that record which you are pulling. So this technique is also bad counting. So with that, we have a new technique available where we can fire a select query on database table, and we can use a literal in the syntax. Okay, so we can actually use literals, arithmetic expressions, logical expressions inside the select queries with SAP NetWeaver 7.2 7.4 SP2 onwards. So we can use literals, arithmetic and logical expressions inside the queries from 7.2 onwards. So what I can do now, instead of doing this whole thing, I can just say select ABAP true directly from SNWD BPA into my escape variable LV exist. That's it. This statement will go to database and just return ABAP true the moment it see something inside the table. With this, you are not pulling even a single value from database to the application layer. You are not getting any BPID, you are not getting any column. Basically, data transfer is nothing but a flag from database to the application layer. Just a flag gets transferred from backend to front end. And you will then check just this flag. If this is equivalent to ABAP true, then at least something exists. This is always much faster as compared to any other statement which you do. This way you basically tell the database that you want to return an ABAP true from this by checking something in this table. So you probably can do select single ABAP true from this into LV exist. So why it is, I think you have to use a again escape variable. Yeah, so this is the best syntax to check if at least there is at least one record in the database table. And yes, then this ABAP true, this is a literal actually. ABAP true is a literal. You can also put an X or one, whatever you like. So this is a literal what it returns and puts it in this local variable. This is the best way to check if table has at least something in it. So this way you are basically not transferring anything from backend to front end. So execute and you see at least table has something. Okay, so this way you are actually stop transferring anything from back into front end. Okay, is this coding possible in HDB? You can go back to HDB and you can do that. Actually you can say select one, which is a literal from this table, execute this query, and you would see it would just return you one if there is something in the database table. Okay, I think it hanged my eclipse. So that query will also return you one by checking the table if the table has something in it. But in OpenSQL, this is the best way because you're always going to fire your query not on HANA-DB. Instead, you will use your ABAP reports to still call your database table present in HANA-DB. Okay, it's not accepting. I think we have to give this literally in a single quote. Okay, it's not working. The database connection is closed. I don't know why. Well, let me try once again. Mhm. No, we are not doing it. We cannot do that here in DB. We have to do select at least one column, or we can say select up to row. Let me check in HANA. How can I specify the number of rows? No, no, no. Let me quickly Google this. So in HANA, there is a way to select number of records from DB. So HANA, select top one row. There is a syntax for that in HANA to just check if there is at least one row in the table or not. Yeah, it's top record. So top one star from the table. Let's see. Correct. So you see it gives me one record from the database table. So this way, this is the best way to check in HANA if you have at least something or a record in the table. So select single star is equivalent to select top one star from the table name in HANA. That's the HANA DB syntax to select single. You don't have a select single syntax here in native SQL. This is native SQL because this is directly going to HANA DB. So HANA doesn't support Open SQL, of course. You got to always come via your ABAP program if you want to do this. So this query gets converted to this kind of a query, but ultimately it won't transfer anything to the front end because you are actually did not specify any column over here. So that's about selection of literal from select query. We can also do some more arithmetic expressions in this. So you can put comma and now you can do just 1 plus 3. You can of course do this 1 plus 3 also. This is completely possible. You can do 1 plus 3 in application layer, but just wanted to show you that this arithmetic expression is also possible. So now in this case, I have to specify some kind of work area, or I can specify just select single 1 plus 3 as total into LV exist, and then just print the LV exist over here. So you would see the end result would be 4. It's not compatible. The flag is not compatible. It's an integer what I'm selecting. And you would see as a result 4. So arithmetic expressions can be evaluated. So you can also give arithmetic expressions inside your query, which is the next advantage. So you can see you can give arithmetic expressions along with literals in your HANA DB. In your Open SQL syntax. So what is the use of arithmetic expressions? So let me show you some data in HANA DB. So your requirement here is to, let's say, calculate example the price of a product and price of product after discount. So what is our conventional technique? Our conventional technique is select all the product from the database with the price and the discount value from the database and loop at the internal table and calculate the discounted price and then print it, right? So you transfer all the data first to the front end, and there you will do manipulation and calculate the final discount value. Bad approach. You can do that directly at DB level. You can push down this calculation directly at the database level. Let me show you the database table for product. So I come here and just do a select, let's say top 20 records, just to show you that how the product data looks like. So I have my table as PD. I'm selecting all the columns. Let me just select, let's say, product ID, price, discount, just to show you the data in this table. Okay, there is no discount column. I'm not sure what is the column name. So right now I just do a star, execute it. So this is my product table. Now in this table, let me see if I have a discount available. So I have a price of the product with the currency code, but I don't have a discount field actually into it. So since I don't have a discount field, let me just check the other table, maybe the order table. So I will just go to SO table, sales order table, and check the value if I have discount field in the sales order table. So I have a gross amount and net amount and tax amount. Okay, I don't have the value for discount actually. No problem. So let's say I want to know the gross amount from the sales order table, or I want to know the price of a product after certain discount. So I'll go back again to the product table, PD table, and I'll just select only the product ID and price and currency. Execute. There is no currency field, there is a currency code. So now I will get product ID, price, and currency. Now say, let's say it's a festival season, Christmas season, and I want to offer a discount on every product, 5% discount. Okay, I want to offer 5% discount on every product. So I want to know what will be the price of every product after 5% discount. So what will you typically do? You select all these data first in the front end. You pull all this from DB by writing your select query. So let me just show you this requirement. So requirement is, I'll keep pushing these down in the commented code. So requirement is to, in this festival season, I want to offer a discount of 5% on each product. So display product name or product ID, price, which is actual, discounted price by 5% and currency. This is what was your need. So what will you typically do? Select star from snwd underscore pd into table escape variable inline data declaration lt product. Now you will loop at each product separately into, once again, an inline data declaration into work area ls product, and then print or calculate the discount. So you will say data lv discount for this particular product, ls product hyphen price into 0.95. Since you are doing a discount of 5%, so this will, you will just multiply it with 0.95 to get the discounted price, isn't it? You would do that. Why it is not taking it as a true value? Maybe I'll just do 95%. Okay. So that's what you will do, and this I will also put it inside the percentage. And now you will just print the product ID, price, lv discount, and then currency code. So let's execute this. I would also, I am interested to find out the time taken to run this particular piece of code. I am interested in that. So I want to do that also. So I just do a data declaration of T1, and then I will also declare a object for timer like we saw it in the last class. There is a timer class in ABAP. and then I just create, oops, I think I forgot the class name for timer. Does anybody remember what was the class name for timer? I think it was CL ABAP runtime. And then we just use this class to get an object of this class, create a char timer into this variable, and now you can just say this variable dot get, so CL runtime, create a char timer that gives you an object LO timer, and this LO timer is what I'm saying is create a char timer. Get runtime. So that's what I'm doing to just get the time when I'm starting the program. Similarly, I will also get the T2 at the end of execution, and then finally write total runtime is equals to T2 minus T1 divided by 1000, and this goes into another variable, say total time. I do once again an data declaration, inline data declaration, total time equals to this. So that's what I'm doing to just find out the discounted price of every product. I do a quick check. I think we don't need this local object anymore. We can just use create a char timer, static method, and get the runtime. That's the right piece of code to get the current runtime. Execute. And find out the total result. So it should print you, okay, I have to put a slash to print it in a new line. Execute, and you can see all the product after 5% discount. So you see 1249 after 5% it has become 1187, 1570, 1492. So this has given you the discounted price for every product. I think total runtime formula is incorrect. I have to create this as a separate object, then only it will give me the correct time. There is something wrong. Let me just create the variable once again for the timer. This should work fine. Yeah. So now it will give me the total time taken for the program to execute. So if you come down and check how much time it has taken in total, you can see it has taken 2 milliseconds to run the report and produce the result. This is considerably very low because we don't have that many number of records in the table. But now if you come back and want to do this or do a code push down of this thing in the database layer, you can make use of an arithmetic expression along with the query. So first I'll show you how to do this code push down in the HANA DB directly in the query. So what you can do is come back to HANA DB and apply the same query where you select product ID, price, currency code, execute. It will give you the price and the currency code value for all the products. Now I'll just go back and I want to calculate price after discount of 5%. So I can do an arithmetic expression directly in HANA. I can say price multiply by 0.95 as discounted price. Let's run this. and you would see HANA gives me discounted price with exact decimal points also. You can see it is producing the results. So this query can run now directly on DB. Your calculation has been pushed down to DB. You are calculating in this report program the discount value yourself over here in this loop. But what if we call HANA database and supply this calculation directly to HANA? Because HANA can do this arithmetic expression evaluation at runtime. And believe me or remember, HANA has massive parallel processing. It has a column store, so it can any operation you apply on the column can be done much faster. It has multi-core CPUs connected together, and all the data is kept in the RAM. So the calculation in the database is much faster as compared to application layer. So that's why you should do this. That's the whole motivation. Here you may not see a big difference in performance, but more complex queries and more complex operation, the moment you push down to DB like this, with your Open SQL knowledge, you would get better and better results. So now I will write the same query into Open SQL over here and produce the same result with the discounted price. So what I will do is I'll say select star from SNWD into this. Instead of star, first of all, let's do this product ID. So also reduce the number of columns, guys, very important. Price, then comes is price multiply by 0.95. This will push down the calculation to database layer. I don't know why it's not considering 0.95. Let me just 95 divided by 100 as discounted price and currency code. And since you are doing here a declaration which is inline, this internal table will automatically get these new columns created. You don't have to declare a type also. And now you just have to print the result. That's it. Loop at the table to print the result. So here instead of LV discount, you got to use this new column what you're selecting as this price. That's it. Let's see the runtime for this now. So earlier it was 3 milliseconds, and let us see now the new runtime for this. Okay. So you can see only these many operands are allowed in arithmetic operations. Why it is not taking 0.95? Ideally it should take 0.95. Let me do a syntax check. It should accept it. Okay, maybe just give it in single quotes. Let me try if this works. Okay, if this doesn't work, let me put a variable itself for my discount price. So at the rate of LV discount. Let me put the discount variable data LV discount equals to 0.95. Why it is not considering this value? Maybe I'll just do a 95 divided by 100 over here. Okay, do a check. You can see now I have put a discount variable over here. So you can indeed create this as a parameter as also. So let me just create a LV or P discount. So how much discount you want? 100 minus the discount. And I can declare now a parameter also, type I, where I can give the discount value from the UI. User can give that. Yeah. So let's try now. I activate this program. Of course, I should start timer after my value is supplied to the query, not before that. Execute. Now it'll ask you the value of discount, how much discount you want to offer. Let's say I want to offer this time 10% and execute. You can see it produced the result. Let's see the runtime which it has taken. It has taken 6 milliseconds. I don't know how come it is more, but ideally this should be less because your calculation has been pushed down to database layer. You would get better results. Since we have done some more additional stuff that may be taking more time, but this is how you push down your calculation to database. So this is also dynamic now. 8%, it will do 8% discount and prints you the results. Yeah. So that's about your data intensive logic push down using arithmetic expressions to database. Very effective technique. You can see this time it took only 2 milliseconds, but it depends on more and more number of rows. As your number of rows increases, in this case we have very few products, like 10,000 products. If your product size is huge, then this is going to be a significant difference. So maybe next query which I will do, probably in orders table, I will do it because order table has huge number of records. There you would see there you would actually see the visible difference in performance. So that's about arithmetic expressions. So you cannot do a divide, but you can do plus, minus, and multiply arithmetic expressions directly to DB. No difference in discount column. I did not get your point. What do you mean by no difference in discount column? So if I say 5%, I would see, okay, this is what I think you're saying. It's not calculating the output correctly. Yeah, you're right. Then am I doing something wrong? Let me quickly check. So whatever 5 comes here, 95 by 100, this becomes 0.95. That should get multiplied by this and should give me the value. Let me debug this. What's the problem? So if I give 5%, my value in the LV discount should be 0.95. That's when it will calculate it correctly. So I think it will hit, and now I can see. So you see the variable which LV discount has created, it's not a packed integer. That's why it's not working. I got to go back and create it as a packed integer. So inline declaration will not help me in this case. So I just use LV discount and declare this as packed integer or decimal. I think D is for date. Yeah, sorry. D is for date type. P is correct type for packed integer. Let's give a short 5% now. Let's give 10%. Execute. Now still it is not calculating. There is some problem. The variable which we have selected, I think, has the problem. It is not putting correct value. This is the culprit. I think I have to also specify decimal up to 2. Yeah, it will work now. You would see the correct values coming up. Yeah, you can see it has calculated the values properly. Correct. But now you can also see, guys, once it has calculated these values, this has so much of decimal points afterwards. So you see 1124 and comma 1000. It has calculated so much of it. My end user don't want to see that actually. My end user want to see if it is 860.4. I simply want it to be 861. Okay. I simply want it to be 861. If it is 1124.1, I want it 1125. Okay, so basically I want to do I want to basically round it off automatically to the next largest integer value. Okay, for that also there is a new provision given. It's called expression. There is also ready-made expression available, and one of that expression is CL expression, which will help you to round off the value to the next largest integer. So in Open SQL, this is also an amazing feature. So now whatever value you have calculated here, you can just do a round off of that using CL function. CEIL is the name. Put CL and put this same value now, and let's look at the result. I do a check once again. This time again I will do a 10% only and show you that it should round off to the next largest integer. So 10%, execute, and you can see 860.40000 whatever was there got round off to the next largest integer over here. This is also an amazing feature which is there with OpenSQL. You can make use of these number functions or number expressions inside your OpenSQL queries. Okay, hope this is clear to all of you. So you don't have to again do a loop and do a round of functionality on every record, not required. This can be done implicitly directly from database. So this is purely pushing the calculation to database and pulling the final result from the database. So when you do this, this calls the HANA DB saying to the HANA DB, please round off to the next largest integer. Okay. CL function. Similar to CL function, there is also something called floor function. The floor function round off the number or the digit to the next lowest integer. So you saw 860,400. When you do CL, it became 861. What will it become when you do floor? Anybody? If the value is 860 point or basically 400, what will be the value in case of CL? Anyone? What was the value when we did CL? What was the value when we did CL? No. Just now I showed you it was 861. That is next largest integer. When you do a floor, what happens? Next lowest integer. What is the next lowest integer for 864,000? Absolutely, it becomes 860 now for first number. So let's go and check it. Save, activate, and run. 10% once again just to show you, and you see now it has been rounded off to 860. So this way smartly you can push down the calculation from your Open SQL statements directly to database layer. Okay, directly to database layer. Amazing. There are also features like if you have if you want to calculate fractions, so you saw the actual number. So let me show you some more amazing features. So let it calculate the price as it is, whatever with the discount, but I want to show you some more features. So I want to calculate absolute value, or I want to calculate the value or integer part of the value. So this value would produce 860,400. I just want the first part before decimal points, which is nothing but the integer part of your value. So I can say as integer or int value, and whatever is left out, the fraction part, I can just do that also. So I can say fraction part, and now here I will use my function called trunc, which will just produce finally the value as if it is, you know, the first part or before decimal points, whatever is the integer part of the value, it will fetch, and then frac function which would produce the result with fractions. Is this spelling correct? Let me do an F4, F1, sorry. Does it show me the trunk function? There is a trunk function actually. Yes, you can see all the functions here: absolute, sign, CL, floor, trunk. So you can see these are all the functions. Value of the integer part of argument. So trunk function is there. But why it's not working? I think there is some problem. Let me put this whole thing inside another. No, it's not constructing it. I delete should have worked. It should allowed me to put this. Frac it is allowing, but trunk it is not allowing. I don't know. Frac also it is not allowing now. What's the reason? Discount currency code as frac. Let me check. It's saying trunk is unknown. It's not accepting this. There's some problem. Okay, so basically we can calculate. I need to cross check this. What is the possible reason why it's not working? But we can calculate for for a value which has a decimal, we can calculate the integer part and fraction part separately. When we apply these expressions, ready-made expressions inside our select query, just like the CL function which we did in the previous case. I save it and just show you the last output which it was. So I need to cross check guys why it is not accepting this trunk and frac function. I delete should. Okay, so we saw already CL function being used, so with that it was actually producing the right result. I think I have to use capital letters. Trunk small is not allowed, possibly. No, it's not accepting this also. There's some problem. I don't know why it is not accepting this. I delete should have. Let me just also give a last shot and use the same discount column itself. Mhm. It's not accepting. There is some problem. I need to cross check this. So these are all the expressions which we can also put it inside the Open SQL statement. That is also has been a new enhancement which has been done. So we can use expressions like CL, floor, absolute value, which always gives you the positive value, trunk function, you have frac function. All these can be part of Open SQL statement. This has been also an enhancement in SQL, Open SQL syntax with NetWeaver 7.5. What else? You can also use logical expressions like case statement. So suppose the requirement is print the invoices from invoice header table which are open. So result should look like invoice number, gross amount, and a literal specifying that invoice is open or closed. So you don't want to display X or blank. Have been given a requirement to print if the invoice is open or closed is a literal. So what will you again do? You will loop over all the invoices, check if they are paid or not, and then you would showcase or print a right statement showing that if invoice have been paid or not, right? So how would you do this in conventional programming? So I will keep on writing my code now inside this T1 and T2 part. Okay, so let me just go ahead and write this. So I say select invoice number, which is, I think, let me just check in HANA DB what is the field for invoice. So select star from SAP schema name, SAP ABAP for HANA dot SNWD underscore INV underscore head table. Execute this to get all the invoice header table data. We will get to know all the invoices which are present in the database table. And then accordingly, we will write a query here to print the invoice number and the invoice number which are open and closed. Okay, there is some problem with DB connection again. Let me just again connect to SQL. Yeah. Is the table name correct? Let me check. SNWD underscore invoice header is the table. Let me check. Let me check in ABAP system what is my invoice header table. So my SO invoice header, I think this is the right table name, SO invoice header table. Let me just come here, apply this table and do an F8. So that's my table. You can see here I have the invoice number, the node key, which is the primary key in this table, note number created by gross amount, net amount, tax amount, currency code, dunning level, and payment status. Payment status P means it's pending, and payment status I think P means paid, and whenever the payment status is blank, invoices are not paid. So I want to now print every invoice number, which is the note number, invoice note number, and I want to print after that the gross amount, and then after that a literal saying that if invoice was paid or not. So how would I do it? So let me just go ahead and do this. So I say select invoice note, what is the column name? It's DLY number, and then payment status into at the rate of data work area. That's my select statement. And then I have an end select statement. And then finally I'll say my table name. And then I'll just put a if condition. If my work area payment status is paid, which means invoice have been paid. So I just do a write statement. And then I say paid. Else I do a write statement. Okay, so that's what you typically do it to print all the invoices which are paid or not paid. Let me just do a check. What's the problem? DLY number is incorrect. Let me check the column name. Am I putting it correct? This is correct only. What's the problem? Let me go to the table and see the note number column. Maybe I've done some typo with work area hyphen column name. Do a check. We are good. Let's print the invoices on the UI. Okay, no discounting here. In this case, no parameter required. You can see here all the invoices which are paid or not paid. Let's see how much time this program have taken in total to execute. I just do a page down. I think that will not work. I got to go to the end of the list, and I can see there are 320 milliseconds it has taken to produce the result. Now same thing if I want to do a push down to the database layer where this comparison will take place, instead of doing the comparison on the application layer, instead of this statement, if statement, I want to get this done directly at DB layer, a code push down. How can I do that? So you saw it took about 320 milliseconds, and if I want to do a code push down for same thing, I can quickly do that with database statements. So I can write here select daily note number, comma, and now I can write a case statement directly. So I can say case, and my payment status column. So this is the case statement, payment status column, and when the status is P, I can say then invoice paid, or I can say paid already. Same result what I was doing earlier with comparison. And then when the status of the invoice is blank, I can say not yet paid. This is select statement. This type of case statement is called as single case statement. So end as, and now I can say new um, new virtual column, which I can say status. So that's my select query. Into a dynamic work area inline declaration I have to do at the rate of data work area, and then I can do select and select, and then I can print this result. So daily note number, and then status column, work area hyphen status column. Let's do a check. I think there's an error. Okay, it's because of this, some statements on the top. So when it is P, then it is already paid. When it is D, then this. I think the else statement is missing. Else blank. And else I want to just use it as simply payment status. So this is the syntax what you have for simple case statement. Okay, it's giving an error over here. Okay, I have to put a space actually, because that's what I am comparing it with a blank. And now end is status into work area, data work area, escape variable, it is not accepting. I don't know, some problem here. Dot is invalid due to grammar, contains invalid character, or it is a, what is this problem? Okay, I have forgot my table name basically, snwd underscore so invoice header. That was the problem. So now you see we are pushing down this calculation to evaluate the status at runtime. So I'm saying if the status is P, mention it as paid already. If it is blank, mention it as not yet paid. And if it is else, just simply whatever is the status, print it. do a check. So last query took 320 milliseconds. Let's see this much. Here we are doing a code push down. You see the result over here. Let me scroll down and you can see it is taking 312 milliseconds. So from 320 or I think 360 milliseconds to 312. As many number of records would increase, that much time it would let you reduce. So this is also one of the best technique to do a code push down to database. You can also do the similar query at the database level directly in HANA DB. You can come here and you can apply this. You can say daily note number column from this table, invoice header, comma, a case statement here also you can put. Case, invoice, the payment status. Actually, let me copy this whole thing as it is and put it over here and execute. You can see the same result comes up in HANA DB as well. So you can apply such a case statement directly on HANA DB. That's the beauty of your SQL statement on HANA. Yeah. So this feature is supported by HANA. Hence also this feature is supported by ABAP. Now it doesn't matter that it will only work for HANA as a primary database. It will also work for other databases provided you're using Open SQL. Okay, but with HANA DB it will work very well because HANA has this computation power at DB level. Not just this, you also have a second type of case statement which is called search the case. So this case statement is a simple case statement. Second case statement could be searched case statement. So what is searched case statement? There you can give some conditions. Okay, so suppose I want to know or I want to give a discount on every invoice if the customer whom I have billed is actually SAP. If I build it to customer SAP, then I want to give a discount in the price of let's say 10%. Okay, so how would you achieve that? So let me note down the use case. Give a discount of 10% if the customer is SAP. So first of all, let's get all the invoices for every customer and print them on the UI with the total amount. Okay, so how do you do that? So I have to join now here two tables. One is the invoice header table and second is the business partner table because my company name and the company details is there in the business partner table. So select, I want to select the invoice number which is from invoice table. So INV tilde symbol daily note number, then the business partner name or the company name. So I say BP company name, then the gross amount from invoice table. So again invoice table gross amount from SNWD underscore SO invoice header, inner join SNWD underscore BPA, join condition. So let's give an alias name for both of these tables, invoice table as INV and business partner table as BP. So you can see this is your condition. And then we will have a joined invoice. Here there will be buyer GUID which will match with BP node key. That's your join condition for both the tables. And then into inline data declaration, once again work area, right? Business partner company ID I have to print. So work area hyphen company name and work area hyphen gross amount and select. So right now just printing the amount for every customer. Okay, just printing the amount for every customer, the customer name and the amount for every customer. Okay, I have to use escape variable, that's important. Do a check, execute. So now it will print you the name of the company and what is the total amount per invoice for that company. Execute, you can see here the name, telecommunication star 195 195. So these are all the invoices for these companies. For every company it is showing here the invoices and the invoice amount also, the gross amount for every invoice. I think this is automatically generated data. So now you see there, of course, there are some difference in the data as well. At the bottom, you will see, and you see some of the places the customer is SAP. Some of the places you see customer is SAP, but actually I don't see too many customers with SAP. So maybe we will use someone which is very common. Maybe use Jateco. Okay, we will use Jateco as the customer. If the customer is Jateco, the gross amount should be discounted by 10%. Okay, that's what my requirement is. So what I typically do is I will come here and I will write a if condition. If customer name work area hyphen company name is equals to Jateco, the discounted price I will calculate here in this by 10%. I think I should do 90 by 10. So it should be discounted by 10%, 90 by 10, 100. So that is a discounted amount, and let's print that also on the UI. So now wherever you will see customer is Jateco, this will become 10% off. For other customers, we will just put discount the final price actually same as the gross price. So that is what we are evaluating now here in the application layer. Some logic we have written. Now same thing you got to push down to database. How will you do it? You have to give it to your select query accordingly. Then only it will work. So let me just put down the discounted price here, data p decimal 2. Execute, and now you will see, you see for these customers, all these customers, you would see it's coming same. Yeah, because they are not Jateco. Let me search for Jateco. You see some entries, I go there, and now you would see for this Jateco, it the final amount which this guy has to pay for the invoice is 9,280, which is 10% off of 10,311. Yeah. For other customers it's not changing, only for Jateco it is less. So let's see how much time this report took to execute. It took about 460 total runtime, 460 milliseconds. Now if I want to do same calculation push down to database layer, how can I do that? I can do using my searched case statement, okay, with an arithmetic expression. So for that to happen, you simply don't need these much of calculation, not required. Comment this out. Now here in this, after the before the join, what you do is put comma, introduce a new column as discounted or as this underscore value. Now this evaluation of this underscore value will be done by a searched case statement. So now I'll say case statement. Actually, let's do a case statement when, and now I can put a condition when my company name is equals to Jateco. Okay, this is the company name. So now this will basically move the coding or move the engine calculation will be moved to database layer because we are giving it in the select query. So it will be sent to the HANA database. So then what I want to do, I want to calculate my final column value. If it is Jateco, my final value of total final amount is going to be the gross amount multiplied by discounted price, and I just put my discounted price value as, let's say, 10%. Okay, So if it is Jateco, then do this. Yeah. Else, what do you need to do? Simply the current gross amount will be written as the discounted price value. So that's my calculation for conditional thing. Okay. And this should be end as like this. So you see this piece of code will first go to database. It checks what are all the records, whichever records has Jateco as the customer name, calculates the final discounted value as gross amount multiplied by discount price, which is 10% in this case, hard coded. Otherwise, simply return the gross amount in the discounted value. So this is again pushing down the calculation at the database layer using Open SQL, thanks to new Open SQL syntax with NetWeaver 7.2. Let's print the final results on the UI. So now you have this new column in the work area called discounted value. So does anybody remember last time how much time it took to evaluate the final result? Anyone? Do you remember how much milliseconds it took to evaluate the result last time? 462. Let's run this and see the result. So let's first search for Jateco. Does it did the calculation? It has done some, no, it didn't do the calculation. I think there is some problem. It didn't do the calculation. You can see Jateco 3459 345933. It did do the calculation. There is some problem. Let's go back and check why it didn't do the calculation. So this LV discount is 10. Oops, I did a mistake. I think it is simply multiplying it by 10. It has made it 10 times actually. It should be, the value should be, if your discount value is 10, then value should be 0.90. So LV discount equals to 10 divided by, or 90 divided by 100. That's your 90% of the value if 10% is this discount. So last time it was the value was 462 milliseconds. Let's search for the results for Jateco. And yeah, you can see now it is calculating the value 4499 to 4049. 10% discount is it would have added. But let's see the total time which it has taken. 462 millisecond to 501 it is causing actually. It has increased the total runtime. But I think this is just temporary. If I just go back and execute again, it should definitely reduce. 495. No, it is not reducing. There is some problem. 498, which means pushing down this particular calculation to DB layer is expensive. Actually, it is actually causing an expensive operation for me in this case. So calculating in here was faster. That's what it means. So sometimes you got to compare. You got to see what is taking more time. But idea here is ideally it should be less. I'm not sure in this case why it took so much of time. It could be because it's a training system and HANA DB doesn't have that much of capability. Okay, it may not have that much of parallel processing. It may not have that much of RAM and the CPU power. But in truly real cases, if you really want to see performance improvement, try to write down this calculation in select query. You will see some differences. We will of course see this open item analysis where we have more complex calculation. In that case you would see better results at least. Okay, so that's about the case statement. So one was the simple case statement and another was the case statement with conditions. So these are all the two more things what we have with respect to open SQL statement. So we have conditional case expression and simple case expression. Yes, of course you can put the same code. So Senthil is asking, can you put same code in Eclipse? Absolutely you can. There's no difference. There is no difference. You can put same code in Eclipse also. Nobody can stop you doing that. Okay. Now I want to show you some another feature. There is also a feature called available functions. There are ready-made functions available in Open SQL from NetWeaver 7.4. So one of such function is call as function. So let me show you a real-time example for that. Now suppose there are a lot of business partners. Okay, there are a lot of business partners. Now for each business partner you made some payment, or they have purchased something from you. Now it may be possible that some business partner did not even purchase anything from you. Okay, or you may also have a case where you have two tables. One is the invoice header table, and another table is the sales order table. So there may be a sales order which would have come to you, but you have not yet delivered any product out of that sales order to any of the customers. So let's say I raised an order to Amazon for two pen drives, but Amazon does not have that pen drive in stock. So what will happen? Amazon cannot invoice me for my order. That is possible, right? So if you remember our EPM model, what happens? How does this sample company or demo company works in EPM model? It procures the product when there is a customer demand. Let me take you to that company. So here you see customer raise a sales order. If company has the item in stock, they will invoice. If they don't have, they will go to supplier. So I raised a order which has, let's say, 20 laptops to be procured, to be purchased, and none of the laptop is available in stock. So it goes to this channel and raise a purchase order. But in this case, there is no invoice created for me. So there is a possibility that there are sales order in the system, but there are no invoices created for those sales orders. Okay. So if you do a inner join, you will never be able to read the sales orders for which invoice was not done. There is a relation between these two tables, sales order and invoice table. But if you just do a simple inner join, it will never give you the sales orders which are not invoiced. So which type of join you would like or you apply, guys, in cases where the table, second table does not have the corresponding record as with the first table? Which type of joins you apply? Absolutely, you apply outer join in such cases. Let me take an example. Let me take an example. Let's say you have a department table. Okay, you have a department table. In this you have department number and department name. Then you have another table which is employee table. One, two, three, four, five. So let's say a company has five departments. This is a company, it has five departments. Now it may happen that company just started and they did not hire anybody in these two departments. So in employee table, there is not even a single employee who reports or who is part of 104 and 5. Now my requirement is to print all departments names where at least one employee exists. Print the name of department where at least one employee exists. What will I do? I will apply an inner join between these two tables. Okay. Print all the department names and their employee names. corresponding employee names where at least one employee exists. So I will apply inner join. So when I apply inner join, it first pull the data from this table HR and then does an inner join and checks employee table and pulls me this record, first record. Again it checks department table and go to employee table and find second record. Okay, so it will get you 101 IT and then you have 2 101. I think 101 is HR. Similarly, it will basically check, cross check every record and pulls you all the information. So third record is pointing to 102. So it's 102 IT employee number 3 102. Third record is again 102 IT 4 102. Fifth record is 103 sales 5 103. This is the inner join, guys. So it has got you all the departments where employee do exist because you applied an inner join. It says that record must exist in both tables, then only the record will be fetched. Otherwise record will not be fetched. That's what the inner join says, guys. Record will not be fetched otherwise. Now what if my requirement is to fetch these records plus also fetch departments even without employee. So current set I want whatever I'm getting currently I want. I also want the departments for which no employee exists. So it should finally end up with the result 104. I want these two additional records also. Even though there is no employee exists, this should be added in my final result set. Which type of join I will use? Which type of join I will use? So if you want two table participating in a join and you don't want a cross action, so what is in this case is coming? So if you try to represent this with a Venn diagram, so what does an inner join gives you? An inner join gives you all the records from first table where the data record exists in second table. In this case, you see inner join. When you do an inner join, it has only given you the records from the table, first table, where the corresponding record exists in the second table. Do you all agree? Can you see this result? So whatever is left out here, this blank area, these records are 4 and 5. You did not get these records. You only got the records of the first table for which data record exists in second table. Fine? Clear? That's your inner join. But if you want to include this empty area, the records which doesn't have a corresponding record in second table also as part of your result set, you got to use the outer join. If you want to get the records which doesn't exist in second table, use left outer join. If you want to get the records which doesn't exist in the first table, use right outer join. The right outer join was not possible in SAP ABAP. With SP2 7.4, it is possible to have also a right outer join. So my used case here is write a query, get me the sales orders and corresponding invoices for each sales order, which is actually an inner join. In both table, the entry should exist, but also get me the orders which are not yet invoiced. So if I consider my left table as my orders table and right table as my invoice table, it never happen that you have an invoice. Okay, it will never happen. Does it ever happen that you did not do an order to Amazon and Amazon have sent you an invoice? Think about it, business perspective. Does it ever happens that you did not order any product but you got an invoice in your email from Amazon? Anybody? Did you ever see an email in your inbox? It never happens. Until you order, you won't get it. But can it happen that you ordered something but you did not get an invoice for that yet? Is that possible? You ordered something but you did not get the invoice of that product yet in your inbox. Possible or not? It is possible. They don't have the product in the stock. They could not dispatch the product to you. It is still wait listed. So until the product is available, they cannot bill you. They cannot send you invoice. Ki pay this boss. You did not even get the product. How will you get invoice? But your order is still there. So in this case, order table will have more records as compared to invoice records. Some orders are already invoiced. Some orders are still not invoiced. So I want all the orders from the table, order table, which are invoiced plus the orders which are not invoiced. Basically a left outer join. Okay. I want to do a left outer join. So there is one gross amount field in the order table of how much I have ordered. And there is another gross amount in invoice table how much I billed for. This can be different. How it can be different? Anybody? Can you give me an example in which case the gross amount of order will be different the invoice amount, invoice gross amount? Anybody? Can you give me an example? Absolutely. I ordered for laptop, pen drive and a web camera. I have only received a laptop and a web camera. In that case, my order gross amount is greater than invoice amount. They have only sent me two products. They billed me for two products. One product is still pending, which they can invoice me later. Okay. So I want to get now an analysis of my total order gross amount and my invoice gross amount. And if I want to first get my invoice gross amount. If my invoice gross amount is empty, I want my order gross amount. Okay. I want my order gross amount. So let's do this and achieve this using outer join. So now what I will do is, what is the requirement here? Requirement I already written on the top, but main requirement is to fetch the gross amount for all orders. Print or give the priority to gross amount if order is invoiced. That is the priority for me, because something which I already delivered to customer, I owe from customer. That should be the highest priority. If the order is still not invoiced, print order gross amount, because you didn't even send it yet to customer. I just want to print the order gross amount. This could be a report, which can help me to generate revenue report in my company. Last quarter, how much total sales I had. It and the main criteria to calculate sales would be based on invoices which I generated. If the invoice is not yet sent but order have been received, that should also be included as part of revenue, because one or the other day anyways I'm going to complete that order. So this could be one good analysis on a report of calculating the revenue in my company for a quarter or so. This kind of a report. So here you would also, there are 2 points to remember. One is always get order even it's not invoiced. You would get it by left outer join. Give priority to gross amount of invoice if available. If not, give read order gross amount. Okay. That's what you got to do. Let us go ahead and achieve this. So how these two tables are connected? These two tables are connected by a GUID. Node sales order GUID field of invoice header table. So in invoice header table, there is a field called sales order GUID, which relates that this invoice was generated against a given sales order. I will show you. So I will go to invoice header table once again, and I will just search the invoice ID and sales order GUID. Execute it. You will get all the invoices and the sales order GUIDs for each of the invoice. So all the invoices you will get in this query. It's taking so much of time because it's a big work for database which I have given. Okay, it failed. DB connection closed again. I don't know unnecessarily. Let me just again new SQL console. And you can see sales order GUIDs. So it is telling me that this invoice was done, generated for this particular sales order. You can take one of the sales order GUID, or maybe we can just let's quickly do a join to get the sales orders for this invoice. So now maybe I just quickly run this. You can actually find some entries relevant. Can I copy this cell? Yes, I can. Go to notepad, take this GUID of sales order and go to sales order table and search for this GUID. So again, just go fire query on my sales order table. Remember in HANA, when you're trying query, don't forget to put schema name A for H dot SNWD underscore sales order table, where node key of sales order is this, what I've got from the invoice table. You will find this is the sales order, guys, for which that invoice is there in the system. So you can see here gross amount is 195.16. So when I ordered, this was the total amount I ordered for. And if you go to invoice and look at this entry, we just go back and also get the gross amount for invoice. You will see the gross amount for invoice F8. You can see 195.16. Actually, if I just maybe come down and pick something which is not, which is greater than, get something more than 1000 just to cross verify. So let's take this one. So I copy this, put it in the notepad, take this GUID, go to order tables, check the order gross amount here. So you now know the join condition for both the table, sales order table and invoice table. And let's look at the gross amount here. It's 10,000 It's 1,01,299. If I go to invoice table, you see 1,01,299. What does this mean? Gross amount of your invoice is matching with the gross amount of your sales order. What does it mean? Anybody? Functionally, what does it mean? Item, all the items are delivered. Absolutely. And invoiced. Absolutely, you're right. That's what functionally it means. So you may find some sales orders where invoice amount could be less or invoice amount could be nothing. Okay. There may be some sales order where invoice amount could be nothing. But I want to get all those sales orders also. So let's go back. And now you can say, get me all the sales orders. So I'll do this now in the HANA-DB first. So I'm getting all the columns from both tables. Get me all the sales order. Join with SNWD invoice header table. Join condition. Let me also give an alias name. SO invoice. In HANA-DB, when you're doing join, you should use table name, table alias name dot join condition. So in sales order table, it's node key. Invoice header table, it was, what was it? We just saw it was SO GUID. That's a join condition. Let's run this. You can see the records now. It has joined all the sales order it has got and all the invoices it has got. You can see all the data have come. Maybe just to showcase the only interested columns, I will now put here the column sales order gross amount or sales order SO GUID, sales order gross amount as sales amount, and then invoice gross amount as invoice amount from both the tables. Execute. Why it's not working? SO gross amount as sales amount, invoice gross amount as invoice amount. Okay, it's saying SO.SO GUID is not there. I think it's node key, not SO GUID in SO table. And now you will get, you can see almost every place whatever has been ordered has been invoiced also with same amount. So probably the orders which you're looking at, all the orders have been delivered and the invoice amount is same. You can see everywhere from both the tables, invoice amount is same. Now here, since I'm doing an inner join, you see this join in the database table is an inner join. It will only fetch the sales orders. It will only fetch the sales order where there is an invoice. Okay, where there is a corresponding data in second table, but it won't give me the sales orders which doesn't have an invoice. So which join shall I use? Anybody now? To also get the sales order amount or sales orders which doesn't have an invoice record at all. Anyone? Which join shall we apply to get sales orders even there is no invoice for that? Left outer join, because you see the table, first table which I have put is my, okay, I think from, yeah, we have to apply left outer join. You see first table, from first table is sales order table. After that I put the second table is invoice header. So we will apply left outer join. So I say left outer join and then put the table name, execute it. In case of this, you would see some sales orders. Okay, now the records are restricted actually. You would see some sales orders you will not have invoice amount at all. If I just scroll down and see, actually I'm not getting because the records which I've restricted is only 600 records. Let me increase the record size. So I go to preferences, HANA, and number of records. We saw some places. Yeah, here 600. I will make it to, let's say, 2 lakh. Let's see now. It should get me something. I execute again. It may take some time. Okay, good. It's fast. And I will scroll down. You may see some orders which are not yet completed, which are not even yet invoiced. Where you would see invoice amount will be empty. It will be null. It's fetching. A lot of data is there. So that's what my idea, to also fetch the orders which are not yet invoiced, which are not yet paid by customers. Okay, it's getting a lot of records actually. It's fetching a lot of records. Yes, you can see now, guys, some records. This is the order which has sales amount 1704, but you see invoice amount is null. What does it mean? It means this order was yet taken but not yet billed, because this order was not yet released to customer. These are all the pending orders basically. You see a lot of them are there now at the bottom. So if you just print for calculating the revenue of your company in the quarter, if you just consider the invoice amount, would it be a good choice? Anybody? Would it be a good choice to calculate revenue of the quarter to consider a column which has empty values? Yeah. So wherever there is an invoice value, which means the payment was collected or bill was generated for customer, this is what is priority. But wherever the bill was not even created, order is still pending, you should consider sales amount. So that to calculate the revenue in the company, you need a column which gives you the actual sales amount. If the invoice exists, that should take priority. If invoice does not exist, sales order amount should take priority. So for that, if you do in ABAP, you got to write again a select condition with if condition loop at all the records in ABAP and then evaluate. But you can use call as function in ABAP to do that. So let me just go back and come to ABAP and write the same query to calculate this using call as function. So use the same query. Of course, you can't use same query. You got to use select sales order table node key, sales order table, gross amount, invoice table, gross amount, and a new column I am introducing with a call as function. And here I will say if my invoice gross amount is present, that should take highest priority. Else sales order gross amount should take priority. So it will return one of the argument. If first argument is null, it will return second argument as final amount. And this is what I can now use to calculate my revenue for complete quarter or complete year or complete till since company have started. Yeah, it will never be null. Okay, it will never be null. And I can say now the table from sales order inner left outer join. Oops, sorry, my system got closed. Let me just quickly start again. I think there will be a lock entry which I got to delete now for my report because it closed. Okay, no. So call as function will help you to get value of one of the argument Okay, my whole query is gone. I got to rewrite. Sorry. I would save this time in intermediate result. Select sales order table, node key, sales order gross amount, sale invoice table gross amount with coalesce function. Sales or invoice gross amount should take higher precedence. If it is not there, then sales order gross amount should come into picture as final amount from snwd underscore sales order table as so in left outer join snwd so invoice header table as inv on sales order table node key is equals to invoice table sales order GUID and end select. Of course, there will be multiple records which it will give me into a work area which I am declaring an inline data declaration, and then finally write all the values. So work area hyphen I just say as node key as so amount as invoice amount work area hyphen node key comma work area hyphen so amount work area hyphen invoice amount and then work area hyphen final amount. This is business, guys. This is what ERP is all about. This is what the business is all about. So you got to understand first the functional requirement, and accordingly you got to optimize or put the query so that as much as you can push down the calculation to the database layer and try to use these functionalities with Open SQL. This is amazing feature. Now I'll just run this. It is going to print you the results. You can see now the amount which it is considering. If the invoice amount is there, it is considering invoice amount. And let me see if coming down, we should see some results where we have this guy as null. Do we find some records where we have this as null? Then it is good. Actually, it is not reading all records, I guess. Yeah, we can see now here this sales order 871 is there, and you see invoice amount is 0, so it has considered 871. So all the orders where there is 0 invoice amount, it is considering this. So this would be now my final column which I should use to calculate my revenue in the company, and that can be done very easily by applying another aggregate function called sum. So on coalesce I'll apply a sum function. This is an aggregate function I'm applying, and when you apply a aggregate function, you got to consider the other columns as part of your group by class. Okay, so you have to give a group by. Okay, why it is not accepting? There's some problem now. Actually, now this will no more be a loop actually. So if you want to apply a aggregation like this won't be a loop. With a single select statement, now you can calculate revenue for the complete company. Let me use the same query. I would just calculate the total revenue for the company. So all these fields, these are all fine. You don't need them. See the coalesce function, calculate sum, apply coalesce, final amount. Oops, I think it should expect these two columns as well. Then say sum, coalesce function. It's not accepting. Okay, maybe we can calculate the total using this final amount itself. The total revenue of the company we can calculate using this final amount. So I can say LV total equals to LV total plus final amount. And let me declare this data total type packed integer. I'm not sure if it dumps over with overflow, but let's try. Packed integer should support this big value, and now I'll just print at the end the total revenue which was generated by this company. Activate it, execute it, and I think it would have calculated the total revenue for the company. You can see this is the total revenue of my company considering the sales and invoice amounts. Wherever whichever order have been sent to customer, invoice amount have been considered. The orders which have been not delivered yet, for which invoice is not ready, the order amount is considered. This is one type of typical analysis which every company would do quarter by quarter, and you can see the fast results calculating this big total. It took 682 milliseconds. Yeah, thanks to coalesce function. If I would have to do this comparison in application layer, it would take a lot of time, but coalesce function only read the data according to what you are asking in the query. Okay, so these are all the features which you can see, new features as part of NetWeaver 7.4 SP2, not there in older version of NetWeaver in Open SQL. In next class, we'll see some more features like group by having. There is also something called right outer join, which have been introduced. We will see an example for that. Then we have better client handling, and we will also see syntax for creating object quickly. And then we will see how to create a internal table data dynamically. We will also see the pipe operator, and then we will see table expression in the next class. And then we will move on with all this knowledge into the POC which we are building for open item analysis. We will write the report, we will apply our knowledge, open SQL knowledge, we will simplify in open SQL, reduce the performance time, and then we will slowly move to artifacts of HANA like creating an attribute view, analytical view, calculation view, stuff like that. So with that, it's a wrap on today's class. I will post this example in a text file into our blog. Please download this and check these examples yourself. So see you tomorrow. Have a nice day and goodbye.